Totally incredible.
The bomber crews out of the continual lineage of the American warrior. I've always been fascinated with the ground forces, the infantry game, and all that stuff, man. I find that very compelling, and it spikes my interest the most. But if anything's ever given that a run for its money, it is the bomber crews from World War II, man. Those guys are they're savage. I love the old bombers. I love watching old documentaries on them. I love reading books about them. But you're right. I've never read anything about them in Romania. It's I feel like it gets clumped into that often overlooked theater of or sub theater of operations. The Mediterranean. You got the Italian campaign is down there, which out of all the various campaigns throughout the war, that one pretty much lasts the entire war. Savage fighting. And you just don't think about American forces fighting in Romania. That seems like it would be, I don't know, another country in the Allied, coalition would handle that. But I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah. So today we'll talk about the 9th Air Force, but it's going to be kind of like two different raids. So we're going to talk about the 9th Air Force, and we're going to talk about the 15th Air Force, but also going back to the 8th Air Force, they had crews and bombers on loan.
Of course.
To the 9th Air Force. And so just like you had said, in 1943, the Axis and Allied forces were fighting in Sicily. And the Army Air Forces, they're going to develop this plan. It's going to be one of the most daring and dangerous plans throughout the war. And their target is Ploiești, Romania. And what's there are 7 oil refineries.
All right.
So this is like a really good target for the Allied forces.
Yeah, you can take out some supply chain and logistical stuff. Get that army, make the Nazis there. They can't move their machinery. They can't move their weapons of warfare.
Got to reach them everywhere. So, but here's why. And going off of that is because Romania had joined the Axis forces in 1940, and then the Nazis took over production of oil there in 1941. And throughout the war, they took 9 million tons of oil, which supplied, that was roughly 1/3 of its entire oil supply for their war effort.
So a substantial portion of their oil resources they're getting out of Romania,
because they had very limited resources inside their own borders there. So,
well, no wonder this is a target. That's a valuable commodity. If they can damage that, man, they'll be doing some good work.
Yep. So they got 7 refineries, and the Allies, they want to knock it out, like full knockout.
Yeah.
One hit knockout. So there's this guy, his name's Colonel Jacob Smart of the U.S. Army Air Forces, and he's developing this plan, and it's codenamed Operation Tidal Wave.
Like that.
It's pretty cool. And it's going to consist of B-24 Liberator bombers, 5 different bomb groups all together, and they're going to fly out of bases in Benghazi, Libya.
All
so
right.
They want to come from North Africa, and it's roughly a 1,400-mile trip to the target.
That's a trip, dude.
That's a trip.
How many hours is that?
It's like 7 to 8 hours for that, just to get to your target.
And if they catch any trouble while they're over there, they got to fly 7 or 8 hours back, jacked up.
And unfortunately, they will.
No, jeez.
Because I'll get into later why this is, why it is the way it is. But yeah, so they got to fly over, from North Africa over the Mediterranean, up through Greece, over the Balkans, mountainous regions and stuff like that, through Bulgaria, and then into Romania. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but hey, it's a plan. And to gain the element of surprise, this is going to be a first time ever for them. It's a low-level bombing raid, low-level altitude.
Okay.
With high-altitude bombers.
Yeah, because every time you think about B-24s or B-17s, you think about these really high-altitude bombing runs where they're flying in formation and they're sometimes carpet bombing, sometimes precision bombing, but they're trying to get above that flak,
Yeah.
And you don't think about them doing a low-level flight.
And that high-altitude bombing, like the different bomb groups would fly at different levels because of that reason.
Yeah.
And but low level, it's like everybody's low level.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a crazy idea, but they're going to do it. And the plan is August 1st, 1943, 1,751 Army Air Force personnel are going to board 177 B-24s.
Jeez.
and they're going to take to the skies, assemble into their formations, and they're going to head to their targets.
That's a ton of dudes and a ton of bombers.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like not early in the war, but 43, like it's early enough in the war, and they got all this assembled and ready to go, and so it's good stuff. But there is another issue, is because of the distance, there's going to be no escorts, so no escort fighters.
Yikes.
For these guys. They must form it up and protect themselves.
Well, let's elaborate on that a little bit. That's scary. That's a scary factor to this mission, because even though these B-24s have guns on them, they're not maneuverable. They have to stay flying in a formation. They're all flying like right next to each other. So it's not like they can. And even if they could, if there were no other bombers around them, they're not maneuverable craft to begin with. They're pretty much point them and they go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when these fighters come in, German fighters come in and start engaging with them, they have, it's hard. That's a fast target. You're moving fast and it's moving. Being one of these gunners, like a waist gunner or a tail gunner, trying to hit these planes as they're zooming by you, has to be incredibly difficult. Also, while trying not to shoot the other bombers too.
Yeah.
So the fact that these guys can, these fighters can maneuver so much, and they're very capable when placed up against these bombers as far as picking them off. Not having your own fighter escort is a scary proposition, because those fighter escorts would save the day a lot of the times, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.